Welcome to Playback, Tier 2 World's weekly showcase of our best stories from around the globe. Coming up, Europe is feeling the heat as record temperatures, wildfires, and heat waves force tens of thousands to flee their homes. We look at the devastating impact of Russia's attack on Ukraine as international war crime prosecutors gather evidence against Russian forces. The presidents of Türkiye, Russia, and Iran meet to discuss peace in the Middle East amid ongoing regional conflicts. And we go to Gaza to see the struggles customers face when trying to buy goods online. Wildfires are still burning out of control across parts of Europe as the continent struggles to cope with record-breaking heat waves. Several areas are experiencing their highest ever temperatures, which have caused widespread grief and devastation. Our North America correspondent John Brain reports.
Destrozado.
A wall of flames in the Zaragoza region in northern Spain.
Madre mía. Increíble. Pero si esto es el infierno.
The driver who recorded this video describes it as a scene from hell. Spain is just one of several countries across Europe suffering the effects of extreme temperatures. Thousands of people have had to evacuate towns and villages. They don't know if they'll have homes to go back to.
I'm going up with. Sorry. Don't know what we're going to find. If it's going to be just no trees, nothing, I don't know. Don't want to think about it.
It's a similar scene in Tuscany in Italy and in Athens in Greece.
I saw the fire on the ridge across the way. We waited to see which direction it would head towards. When we saw it had started coming towards us, we were forced to leave.
Even the United Kingdom, hardly known for the heat, has experienced destruction caused by record temperatures. This was the aftermath of a wildfire in East London.
Mine's spinning, to be honest. I just keep thinking about how worse it could have been, you know. I mean, we've lost everything, but we've all still got our lives. I think everyone got out safely. All our neighbours got out safely. I think that's the main thing, you know.
And in the southwest of France, more than 36,000 people have had to be evacuated during the biggest wildfires in the country's history. The president personally thanked the nation's firefighters, but warned that this year's devastation is likely to be repeated in the future.
The changes we are experiencing not only affect France, they affect the entire Mediterranean region and even beyond. Several European countries, and countries that were not experiencing great fires, are living through an acceleration of direct consequences of climate change.
The vast majority of scientists believe that man-made climate change is causing global heating. The question is whether or not it's already too late to reverse it. John Brain, TRT World.
Natural gas has started flowing again through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. Russia had halted critical supplies to Europe as part of an annual maintenance service. Flows are expected to return to normal levels, but as Sibel Karkush reports from Berlin, governments are still beginning to brace for the worst.
Russia has reopened the gas tap, but Germans are torn over whether it is a good sign.
I am relieved that some gas is flown again. At the same time, I believe that our country should not let itself be blackmailed by Russia.
Nord Stream 1, which is Russia's biggest pipeline and provides nearly half of Europe's gas needs, had been offline for 10 days for annual maintenance. Many in the region feared Moscow would not turn the taps back on after completion, as it has continuously cut flows following Western sanctions over the war in Ukraine. So far, gas flows are back at pre-maintenance levels of 40% capacity, an amount insufficient in bracing for a cold winter ahead. Germany, which accuses Russia of weaponizing energy, is preparing for the worst.
Wir werden die Speicherstände noch einmal
We will increase gas storage levels once more to 85% by October. We will also activate the brown coal reserve in the same period to save gas. Thirdly, we will draw up a gas conservation decree with binding rules to remove gas from the market when necessary.
But while most European nations are looking for ways to reduce their reliance on Russian energy, others are strengthening economic ties. EU member Hungary last week declared a state of danger over the energy crisis. Visiting Moscow on Thursday, its foreign minister said abandoning Russian gas was impossible if they wanted to keep households warm and industries running.
That is why our government has decided an additional 700 million cubic meters of natural gas will be needed. However, if you look at the current market situation, you will see clearly, whether you like it or not, that it's impossible to buy this amount of without sourcing from Russia. That is a fact.
At the same time, Spanish and Portuguese officials have spoken out against an EU proposal to cut the bloc's gas consumption by 15% until March next year. Madrid and Lisbon argue the measure is unsustainable, saying they barely use Russian gas compared to their neighbors and won't allow for their citizens to suffer cuts. Russia's flip-flopping with natural gas flows has European nations not only on high alert over critical shortages ahead of the winter season. It has also left even the biggest EU supporters at odds over how much longer they can support measures that sacrifice their own economic welfare. And that could make finding common ground at an emergency energy meeting in Brussels next week even more complicated. Sibel Karkush, TRT World, Berlin.
International war crime prosecutors have met at The Hague to coordinate the gathering of evidence to prosecute Russian forces operating in Ukraine. The Kremlin strongly denies any allegations of atrocities. Our correspondent Rahul Radhakrishnan visited a small Ukrainian village near Chernihiv, where nearly every resident has accused Russian soldiers of committing crimes against them.
Nearly every building on the 5 streets that make up this tiny Ukrainian village bears the scars of war. Russian troops stormed Yahidne in the early weeks of the conflict. What followed has left every single resident of this village traumatized.
I was only 5.5 years old when the Second World War started. It stole my childhood. Now I feel like my old age is stolen too by this war. Even during the Nazi occupation, we never experienced being forced out of our own house.
Along with the rest of the village's residents, Alexei and his wife were ordered into the basement of this school at gunpoint. All 350 of them would spend the next 3 weeks cramped in a space just under 200 square meters.
It was hell. There wasn't enough air to breathe. Hundreds of people in such a small space. Most of the people had to sleep while sitting in chairs.
The school's caretaker insisted we take a look at the basement for ourselves.
Look, we were all sitting and sleeping on chairs like this. You couldn't move an inch, not to the right, not to the left.
He shows us the names of those who were executed or killed by shrapnel. The names on the right are those who died here in this bunker. Look at these markings on this wall. This one's a calendar counting down the days these people stayed in here. On the 30th, they've scratched each day out, and then on the 30th, they've left. Look, it's marked 2022. Over here, there's some drawings by what seems to be done by children, or at least to entertain children. And these were the dates that they were stuck here for. 5th of March 2022 to the 31st of March 2022. It's quite unbelievable. International war crimes prosecutors say Yahidne's residents were held hostage and used as human shields, as Russian soldiers used the school's classrooms as a temporary headquarters in March. Cigarette butts, food, empty alcohol bottles, ammunition, and even clothes remained strewn across the building. During that time, dozens of unarmed civilians were allegedly massacred in the town of Bucha, about 140 kilometers away. Mikhail Sava is a war crimes expert at the Kiev Center for Civil Liberties and a human rights activist. He says it's not only the foot soldiers that are involved in such grave crimes that are being committed by Russian forces.
The statute of the International Criminal Court says that these people will be under pursuit as long as they live. The second thing is that they can receive term of jail for their whole life. The price for the crime is very high.
Russia has denied all allegations of extrajudicial killings, torture, and abuse of civilians in this war. The Kremlin says its forces do not target civilians, accusing Ukrainian authorities and the West of fabricating evidence. But the experience of survivors here tells a different story. Rahul Radhakrishnan, TRT World, Yahidne, Ukraine.
The presidents of Türkiye, Russia, and Iran have met at a highly anticipated trilateral summit. As part of the Astana peace talks, Syria was on the top of the agenda. The three countries have been seeking an accord since they launched talks in 2017. This was the 19th round of the summit, and Syrians in opposition-controlled Azaz are hopeful there will finally be a breakthrough. Obeyda Hito has this report.
Walid Nasser teaches at an orphanage, but also has to sell goods in a market to survive. He says 11 years of war has devastated the lives of millions.
A teacher has to work 4 or 5 jobs to support a family of 5 people. All of us here are living in poverty. Don't be deceived by what you see.
Abdul Qadir al-Faris was displaced from Aleppo and sells garments in Azaz to support his family of 7. Like millions of other Syrians, he's welcoming a planned Turkish military operation in the areas of Tel Rifat and Manbij to push out the YPG terror group.
There would be a lot of benefits for the displaced people and the local economy. There's camps all around here and there's a housing crisis. We need more space here and to create more opportunities for people to make a living.
Past attempts to get the PKK terrorist affiliates to retreat from the Turkish border have not been entirely successful, but attacks by the terror group targeting civilians have continued. Azaz local council spokesperson Abdullah Uthman says securing the region is a priority.
From a security perspective, a military operation will push the terrorists away from these areas. It will stop them from shelling Azaz and the surrounding areas. This will make life secure. More than 300,000 people living in tents will be able to go back to their homes in places like Tel Rifat and Manbij. The local economy will also get a boost because there will be expansion, creating jobs and businesses.
Syria is expected to be top of the agenda when the presidents of Türkiye, Russia, and Iran meet in Tehran on Tuesday. This will be the first time the leaders of the three countries have met since 2019. But this time the stakes are much higher for everyone at the negotiating table. And millions of Syrians are hoping for more security and stability in a country that has only known war for more than a decade now. Obeyda Hito, TRT World, Azaz, Syria.
Britain's Conservative Party has chosen its 2 final candidates who will go head-to-head in the hopes of becoming the party's new leader and the country's next prime minister. The leadership contest has been driven by tax policies at a time when the economy is grappling with record inflation. Judith Igar takes a look at the 2 candidates left standing in the race to replace Boris Johnson.
And then there were 2. Former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. In recent weeks, Sunak has cemented his status as frontrunner to become Prime Minister. Born in Southampton to Punjabi parents, Sunak could become the UK's first leader of Indian descent. To many, Sunak is the child of immigrants who has made it to the top of British society. But as one of the wealthiest members of Parliament, the 42-year-old has often been accused of being too rich for the job. There were early signs of this.
I have friends who are aristocrats, I have friends who are upper class, I have friends who are working class, but I'm not working class.
Often dubbed as Dishy Rishi, Sunak was educated at an elite private school and completed his studies at Oxford University. He was a successful investment banker before moving into politics 7 years ago. With political success came greater scrutiny, and he has received a fair share of criticism. It recently emerged that his wife, Akshata Murthy, daughter of an Indian billionaire, could be benefiting from tax reduction schemes.
I'm actually incredibly proud of what my
parents-in-law built.
Murthy's net worth is estimated at $850 million, making her richer than the Queen and putting Sunak among the UK's most affluent. It's the race to see who will replace Boris Johnson. Rishi Sunak might be the chosen one for the keys to 10 Downing Street, but it's the 200,000 members of the wider Conservative Party who will have the final say. But Sunak could be pipped at the post by current Foreign Minister Liz Truss, who is no stranger to political transformations. The 46-year-old was born in Oxford to Labour voting parents. She supported the Liberal Democrats during her time at Oxford University before graduating and switching her alliance to the Conservative Party. Her family once revealed Truss was competitive even as a child, that she would often abandon playing games rather than risk losing. Truss is the eldest of 4, with 3 younger brothers. In an interview, she once described herself as always being the bossy sister, possibly preparing her for a future in politics.
I can lead, I can make tough decisions, and I can get things done.
Members of the Tory party will now vote on who they want as leader, but the results won't be known until September the 5th, when Parliament returns from its summer recess. Julie Ager, TRT World, London.
Italian President Sergio Mattarella has dissolved parliament, clearing the way for early elections after Prime Minister Mario Draghi resigned. For the second time in a week, the man once dubbed Super Mario stepped down after a damaging confidence vote. Fresh polls are expected this autumn as the EU's third largest economy again finds itself facing instability. Mehmet Solmaz has more.
Mario Draghi's election as the leader of a national unity government in February of last year brought rare optimism to Italian politics. The technocrat had run the European Central Bank for 8 years until 2019. His coalition included almost all spectrums of the country's right, left and centre parties. The ex-banker quickly revived the faltering vaccination program and achieved strong economic growth of 6.6%. But with elections scheduled for next year, his coalition grew increasingly uneasy. After 17 months, Draghi's alliance crumbled on Wednesday. A last-ditch attempt to revive partnership failed when 3 parties snubbed a confidence vote in Parliament. The Prime Minister said he would step down.
In light of the vote expressed yesterday evening by the Senate, I'm asking to suspend the session because I'm going to the President to inform him of my intentions.
After accepting the resignation, President Sergio Mattarella dissolved the Parliament and called on Draghi to stay on in a caretaker position.
The early dissolution of Parliament is always the last choice to be made, particularly when, as at this time, there are many important tasks before the parliamentary chambers to be completed in the interest of our country. But the political situation that has arisen has led to this decision.
Italy now finds itself in limbo, just as it needs stability and leadership. Europe's third largest economy is facing the conflict in Ukraine, as well as consequences from the COVID-19 pandemic and record price rises.
It really isn't the right moment for a government crisis. This should have been the moment to get back on our feet, not the moment to stop.
Snap elections to choose a new leader will likely be held within 3 months.
The opinion polls right now point to a victory by the rightist bloc, with a far-right party called Brothers of Italy in the lead, which means its leader, Giorgia Meloni, could well be in pole position to become Italy's next prime minister if she wants to be.
Popular among the Italian people, while also trusted by Brussels and the financial markets, Draghi was seen as the best choice to lead the country. And now there are fears about the void left from his exit. Mehmet Solmaz, TRT World.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has regained control of the country's most populous province after winning a by-election in Punjab. It's an outcome that may potentially jeopardize the future of Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif and lead to early elections. Kamran Yusuf has the details.
Celebrations on the streets by supporters of Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Khan's party won 15 of the 20 seats in the by-election, paving the way for the 69-year-old's return to power in Punjab. When Khan was ousted from power in a vote of no confidence in April, he also lost the majority in Punjab. The by-election was seen as a popularity test for Khan.
People have woken up. They have realized who stands on the right side. Imran Khan is an honest leader. More and more people, particularly youth, are joining him.
This is good for the country. Robbers were imposed on us by the United States. The current rulers are corrupt.
The ruling Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz has conceded defeat.
We will make a comeback. A meeting of the coalition partners has been convened to decide the future course of action, but our struggle will continue.
The election results have not just turned the table in Punjab, but the fate of the federal government now also hangs in balance. It's a major blow to the current government, only in power for just over 3 months. Losing Punjab means Prime Minister Shahbaz is now facing tremendous pressure to announce an early national election, a demand he has resisted so far. Emboldened by the victory, Khan has made a fresh pitch for snap elections, hoping to return to power in the next parliamentary polls.
There is only one way to come out of the current economic and political crises: hold free and fair elections.
The outcome of Punjab by-polls has deepened political uncertainty. It has plunged the stock market and rupee against the dollar, something experts warn Pakistan needs to worry about more than early elections. Kamran Yusuf, TRT World, Islamabad.
We're far enough along in the internet age to take online shopping for granted. But that's not the case in Gaza. Customers are subjected to long waits for their orders, if they get them at all. As Nazar Sadawi explains, they often have no other options.
People all over the world surf, click, pay, and then expect their online purchases to be delivered within a day or two. But in Gaza, nothing ever works the way it should.
There are so many items that are unavailable in Gaza because of the Israeli blockade. That's why I turned to online purchasing, and I was expecting to receive my packages within 72 hours like the rest of the world. But this blockade also means that the items are always searched at the Erez border crossing, and they may remain there for 2 or 3 months, and they may not enter at all.
Muhammad Al-Jaru has been shopping online since Israel imposed its blockade on Gaza 15 years ago. The blockade restricts travel and bans many items from entering the enclave. He says even though he'd lost many packages, it's a risk he's forced to take.
There are international companies that we are supposed to use, such as DHL, Aramex, and FedEx, and it should take 2 or 3 days. Unfortunately, these companies do not deal with Gaza except for paper mail only, and this is due to the blockade, closures, and the Israeli occupation measures which restrict this process in Gaza.
Gaza doesn't have its own seaport or airport, so the goods Gazans purchase from abroad are delivered to Israel first. It thoroughly searches the packages and confiscates many items. Packages are later sent to private mail companies in Gaza for delivery to customers.
There's been a steady increase in the number of young people who've turned to online shopping. The reason is that many goods are not available in Gaza and their international price is less than the price on the local market. However, buyers face many problems in receiving packages because of the political situation.
Whatever packages are allowed into Gaza make another stop here at the Telecommunications Ministry. It's a convoluted route. Many online stores don't even list Palestine in their country lists. And even when it is included, Gazans prefer to select Israel as their shipping address because if they don't, they risk losing their packages entirely. Palestinians can't ever seem to escape politics, even at checkout. Nizar Sadawi, TRT World, Gaza.
Well, that rounds up your week of news here on Playback. Stay tuned to TRT World for the latest stories.